What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the Silence Behind the Violets podcast. I'm Kai. Kyle is not with us this week. He is one of many representing NYU down at the NCAA convention in San Antonio, but I have a couple of really exciting guests today. Tyler Shipley, head coach of NYU's cross country and track and field programs, and Michael Roberts, his new associate head coach with track and field. Guys, welcome. Thanks for joining me.
Glad to be here.
Michael, we were talking before the show. I mean, haven't even finished a week yet. So first things off, how's it going?
NYU's newest hire.
I know.
Right.
Yeah.
Everything is going well. Everything has been very fast, well received. Everybody keeps asking me how everything has been going. I say everything's been going great, and they just like to hope that everything keeps going good. So everything's been really good. I'm really excited to be here. It's extremely supportive, and I'm just excited just to continue this journey here.
For sure. What drew you to NYU? What made you want to come here, especially, right before track season starts?
Honestly, I didn't even know that NYU was a Division III program and what sports they had. And I think that's because I was too busy associating my value to a division. But I saw the post online, and I was working at United States Military Academy for a while. But I saw the post online, and so I decided to apply for it. And then I think literally the next day I got an email from Coach Shipley about doing a Zoom, and so I agreed to do the Zoom. And in that Zoom, he was like, if you're interested, this is going to go really fast. And, after that Zoom call, I started up going up the roller coaster, and now we're going downhill. So
yeah,
downhill in a positive way.
Downhill to go back up again soon. Tyler, from your perspective, obviously, like Michael mentioned, fast process. Of course, you need to kind of solidify the staff before the season really gets underway. But, what stood out about Michael? What are you kind of looking forward to? What drew you to him?
Yeah, kind of the exact opposite. For us, slow process. What the most important thing for me is finding someone that has the energy and excitement and wants to help us. I think, obviously, NYU is a brand that people know, is a brand in Division III, and want someone that wants to win here. And I think, really what I'm attracted to is energy. And Michael had a ton of energy and a ton of confidence since the first conversation we had. We got to have people that believe in this program. I think the crazy thing when I walked here is I walked in like NYU, this is like a place, this is a dream job for me, all of these things. And then I walk in and the athletes didn't kind of share that same confidence, which was crazy. And I think having someone that can help instill that confidence that we're really capable here. You got into a really great school. We're in one of the best cities in the country, right. And there's no reason that we can't be kicking ass on the track and in cross country as well. And yeah, I think he shared that vision, has that motivation, and I think one weekend we're off to a good start.
Yeah, no, absolutely. The energy, the confidence. That's something. Obviously, I just met you, Michael, but I can tell that you kind of exude that. So
thank you.
I guess where does that kind of come from? Has that always been something you've carried with you, especially as a coach, or?
No, I think confidence is something that we all have to work on. Growing up, I think a lot of us, you go through life not having confidence. That was something I had to learn on my own, which is being confident. Because in that confidence, you'll be able to draw out your own strengths and be successful. But I love track and field. Track and field has changed my life, and so when it comes to track and field and me giving my best to change lives and do that, I'm very confident in that and my ability to do that. So yeah, I just think that confidence comes from my love for track and field, and it just comes from my growth and my experience in this sport.
Yeah, for sure. And I definitely wanted to kind of know more about yours and both of your really journeys and careers, I guess, in running, in the sport of running. So segueing off of that, talk about your running journey and what the sport really means to you.
So it feels like I've been doing track and field since high school, which I have actually. I'm coaching track and field now, but I started running track and field my junior year of high school. I played multiple sports. I was into everything, but once I found track and field, I kind of found something that I can be competitive at. I just remember my dad always watching sports and doing things like that. So track and field was that thing for me where I feel like I can, succeed. And my sister was a phenomenal track athlete, but that transitioned into me getting a scholarship, going to the state championships, and then going to Indiana State University, where I was under the direction of a really successful coaches, the legendary John McNichols at Indiana State University. It was such a visionary. And this is working with the staff there. Now the new head coach there is Angela Martin, the director, and associate head Jeff Martin there. Wonderful people, wonderful community. Indiana State was once considered cross-country town USA because he's always hosted the cross-country national championship. So I had a lot of experience being a part of the Division I cross-country national championships. And so I think just from my high school and moving into college, Indiana State really helped strengthen my desire for track and field.
For sure. Well, that's new to me. Like learning that about Indiana State. When I think Indiana State, I think Larry Bird.
Oh, yeah.
So the cross country course, why it's cross country town USA? Larry Bird. He donated the money in like an old garbage dump, and then that's where like the designated cross country course is. So kind of crazy. Larry Bird. Thank you.
Yeah, Laverne Gibson course. I think Laverne Gibson. He owns a lot of things out there too. So I think he had a part in helping that course get designed. But John McNichols was the visionary for that, and so. They was able to allow that to come to fruition and give all of us that experience of being a part of something so grand like the Division I National Championships for cross country.
My first cross country nationals freshman year there.
Wow, that's crazy. And it's funny for me because my dad's family is from Southern Indiana.
Okay.
And when I've been plenty of times, but it's quiet, it's rural, but wouldn't have thought of that. That's why I was looking forward to this conversation. I've learned a lot from Tyler already about cross country. Working with him the past year, but Tyler, back to you. I mean, like your running journey. I've talked to you a lot. I've interviewed you a few times about just like New York City and the coaching here. But how did you get here?
Yeah, I started running. I wrestled. That was kind of like my main sport growing up. So I always I always joke with Bruce that like if he ever needs anyone to teach the guys technique, call me up. But no. And sort of how it started is like I have a brother who's 8 years older. He joined the cross country team, and like. He's older enough that like whatever he did was the coolest thing that I could have ever imagined. Right. So like at that point, I'm getting ready for the PE like mile, and I'm like, hey, how do I run? How do I win? Like those types of things. I think my bright idea at that time was like I'm gonna chug a big glass of milk, and then I'll be ready for the PE mile. Kind of crazy, like whatever random ideas you have, don't try that. But yeah, and then joined the high school team. Obviously, the Forest Grove High School is a really kind of cool running community and has like this kind of rich history, and so it kind of rose up through that, and then ran in college where actually my hometown at Pacific University. I was there for 2 years, and then the coach that I had there moved on to be the director at University of Hawaii, and like he's been a steady figure in my life. He actually called me this summer and he's like, I'm really curious to see like just what track and field and cross country looks like at NYU. So he came this summer, stayed with me for 2 days, and then like I just like he was on the city bikes. We were going around to Central Park and kind of everywhere we run, and he was just like, he's from upstate, and he was just like, I just gotta see how this works. So it was really cool to have him, and then kind of just taking the coaching journey wherever I could, and was really excited to get back to Division III, and obviously think we can do some big things here. So here we are.
Yeah, no, learn something new once again. But actually, speaking of that, so both of you, of course, having coached at Division I, Division II, talk to me about kind of those differences, right? Like, of course, there's with a sport like track and field, sports like swimming, there's times, right? There's just cutoffs where it's like you're objectively there's different standards in those sports, but at the divisions. But what are some similarities, if anything, between those levels, or how do you adjust your approach between the two or three, really?
The similarities between all of them is that you have to recruit to where you are. The goal as coaches is to be successful, is to win the conference championships, and to get the athletes to qualify for postseason play. So, I mean, the strategy really just depends on where you are. If you're in a really tough conference, you want to make sure that you're recruiting athletes that are going to help contribute to that, and that you can develop and get to that level. But I mean, it just depends, because you have to recruit the athletes to the university. They're going there for school, so there's a lot of different factors that play into it. And I think for the divisions, I mean, when I was at Division II, we was in the GLIAC, which is kind of the GLIAC is kind of separated now, but at one point in time, that was one of the strongest conferences for Division II, and our recruiting standards were no different than some of our mid-major Division I programs. So it really just depends on where you are. I don't really think there's much of a difference outside of Division I, Division II. You offer scholarships. And then Division III, we don't offer scholarships. But, you know, you have your academic Division I schools, Division II schools. So it really just depends on where you are. But the goal is still the same. It's to find athletes that are a good fit for the university and that can help you accomplish, you know, being successful at the conference championships and getting athletes and scholar athletes to qualify for postseason play.
Of course, right. And recruiting to where you are, I mean, here in New York City, being a Division III school, it's almost like, at least from my perspective, a little bit of like maybe a double-edged sword, but there's a huge draw of New York. It's like, come to New York City, you know, a lot of people want to, it's very exciting, but then there's a lot of challenges. So, I mean, you've been here, you've had 4 practices. What are you kind of learning about those pros and cons, challenges, maybe some benefits of training here and trying to make that work?
It's definitely challenging. I mean, there's been several coaches here before us that, you know, have tried, and some have been successful. I think we won a cross-country national championship before. But the challenge is here is that it's New York City, and so we're dealing with a different demographic of students coming in. With each generation, they're changing, and there are a billion distractions here. And you know, this being in a major city, we don't have facilities in our backyard. So you know, the logistic parts of it, of, you know, we're going to the Armory to train, or we're getting on the bus for an hour to go somewhere to train. So those things make it difficult. But again, I think it's just more so. I don't know. It is challenging, and I've only been here for 4 days. That I really don't have a complete answer to that. But you know, one thing I will say that drew me to NYU is that this is a challenge, and I definitely love to have challenges and figuring out ways to be successful. And you know, I share that same thing that, you know, they saw in me, which was that confidence and that passion to be successful. And I heard that from Coach Shipley in the interview process, as well as the athletic director, Stuart Robertson.
No, for sure. I feel that even from my end, in my role, it's like, you know, there's still a level of grind to it. I'm lugging, you know, broadcast equipment and different things to do games at different fields and venues across the metropolitan area. But it's all, you know, it's all part of making this into something great. At least from my end, what I'm trying to do, I can tell that's what, you know, you guys are trying to do as well. But Tyler, speaking of that, I mean, you settled in a little bit here.
I would say we're settled.
I think you're settled, right? And of course, you know, we talk all the time about kind of the ebbs and flows of that and the difficulties. But you had a pretty good fall.
Yeah.
You know, notably the women's cross country team qualified for nationals as a team for the first time in almost a decade. You know, just how did you what do you think was really the driving force behind that?
Yeah. I'll backtrack a bit to like the challenges and
Sure.
like benefits of being in the city,
Mm-hmm.
and then go to that, because I think it probably all kind of flows together.
Yeah.
There's challenges everywhere. And I think like a lot of times we try to think that, you know, New York City is like this gritty, tough, like we're in Greenwich Village, like life is so bad. There's a reason why people like want to move in New York City. There's a reason why NYU is the most applied to school. So like a lot of these challenges, I think, like are kind of maybe limitations we can sometimes put on ourselves. And that it's like about the people, right? And if you find the right people, like you can go a long ways. And especially in our sport, like you need two shoes most of the time to get the job done. And like we can get creative and we can find ways, and it's just about finding people that are excited by that. I always say that like New York City can be the most energizing place on the planet, or it can be the most draining place on the planet, and it's about finding people like us who signed up for it to be the most energizing.
Yeah, we chose this.
Yeah. And like there's some pretty cool energy that comes from riding back on the subway. Just did that before here, and like the guys are all huddled up, and like, you know, the guys are coming back laughing because they like everyone was hyping them up because they're like, that's dedication, seeing these guys out there run. So like New York City gives you some love back in the same way that it takes it from you sometimes when you're hitting traffic or something along those lines. So it's like really, I think, how you define it. The stories that we tell ourselves are like unbelievably important. And I think the story to tell here is that like New York City is the place that a lot of people want to be. There's a reason why everyone's applying here, and there's a reason why that like we have such bright, intelligent, and like dedicated students. And like if you find the right ones, they'll work pretty damn hard for you.
Yeah.
And speaking of what like made us successful in cross country, just like a whole culture change, recruiting, finding people that wanted running to play a major part of their lives, and then they were unbelievably good teammates to each other. I think that was more important than anything else. And I would love to take all the credit for that, but that's not true. That's them. Like Grace, who's a grad student, came here and has been like an awesome leader as she, is living in the U.S. for the first time. And then 8 freshman women come here kind of like really, really excited to like kind of put their imprint on the program. And they've done a really good job of kind of like bonding. Leia, was really excited to come back and get a team to nationals. Her sister ran here and qualified for nationals, and she was like, I got to do something my sister didn't do. And so they were just driven. They came here and had some really lofty goals, and like we had a lot to learn. I think out of we had 4 people return on an entire roster for cross country. And so there was a lot to kind of figure out and moving pieces, and there's always going to be. And I think that's what's really like made me a better coach here, is that I couldn't have just like picked up the blueprint that I had somewhere else and like rolled it out. But I had to like, completely throw out everything that I thought I knew and then really start over and like, what does it look like here? What does it look like with these students and these trails and like these and like the confines that we have here? And it makes you kind of think, and like we're going to constantly have to rethink and redefine as like things move here, and like we get a new athletic building. What does that look like for our training? How do we set up hurdles there and all of those things? And I think it's like things always move. We're always going to be on our toes, always be dynamic, and I think that's what has allowed us to somewhat be successful. We haven't won anything yet. We still got some ways to go, but yeah, unbelievably proud of the women, and I think I don't want to be remiss, and like the guys have made a ton of progress too.
Yeah,
and like
absolutely.
There's a young group of guys that are really hungry, just work their butts off over winter, and hopefully we'll keep making progress and keep heading in the right direction.
I really appreciate that perspective, because you were listening to what I was saying, kind of just like, hold up. Because even for me, like I came here to go to college to eventually hopefully work here and live here full time because of that. New York City is energizing. There's something that drew me when I first visited as a kid. And I think us, like, once you've kind of settled in and you live here for some time, become a New Yorker or whatever, you get very cynical. It's easy to get a little too down on a really great place that we live in. So that perspective is always needed. So yeah, Michael, don't get too lost in it, I guess.
No, don't get lost in it.
But speaking of like being new, approaching this upcoming season, how are you? What is your outlook as you come into this role? And a lot of your fingerprints are gonna be all over this track and field program. So how are you trying to build that back up to prominence?
It just starts with, I'm an observer. I always say that. It's just coming in and observing how everything is working, how the water's flowing here, and coming in and using that and just making some changes to allow the water to flow a little bit more smoothly down the river. And so for me, it's just, the athletes here, with this school being in New York City, they had to sit 2 years out from COVID, right? So they had 2 years where they didn't get to train or compete. And then, with the changes of the coaching staff, I think the athletes really didn't have a chance or the time to actually support a coaching staff. And so coming in now, they all seem very inspired and happy. But now it's just coming in and taking these observations and aligning those observations with the vision, and then taking that vision and having a plan and the goal, and just getting the athletes to buy into that, and really having them understand what their why is. Because like I said before, this is New York City. You can get lost. You can, go spiraling if you're not focused. And so it's just coming in and establishing a vision, and then, instilling that confidence and motivation in those athletes for them to really define their why and why they're doing this, so that we can, accomplish their goals. One thing I always keep saying was like, I'm not a loser. I hope you're not a loser. And so it's like, you got to have a vision. If you don't have a vision, then you're just kind of walking blindly. And so, it's just taking those observations of how things are, and just coming in and making the right changes positively, so that way we can, reach some goals towards performance.
Absolutely. Excited to see what the season has in store. I know, still building.
It's
right?
still building. Still observing. I mean, this is New York City. It's going to take more than a week to, really figure it out.
We caught you early on, so maybe we check back in a couple months and you have a different perspective.
Yeah.
But
you got to catch them early on. It's good. It's good to get the good to get the early thoughts.
For sure. Excited to see how that evolves for sure. But I kind of want to learn a little bit more from you guys about the sport of track and field, and I'm sure a lot of people who might be tuned into this podcast or follow along with us who haven't ran track or had a close person in their life run track and field or compete in the sport aren't super aware of a lot of the intricacies. You're running a race. That's kind of probably the surface level impression. But are there any like details, little known factors, little known things that might just shed some light on the sport, or the challenges, the life of a track and field athlete or something? It's hard to frame that question because I'm trying to like get stuff that I don't know, but I don't know what to ask.
I say, track and field for me is one of the oldest sports in the world. It's the Olympics, and I think the oldest events were your throwing events, your shot put and your javelin and your pole vault. So it's not something that's new, but as society has changed, and basketball, football, and the relatively newer sports have come and have taken precedence of everything. It's within the track and field community, we're still trying to fight to get back to being popular in society. I think at one point I learned in graduate school, like women in sports, that women didn't play sports because they believed that their insides are going to fall out. And so I don't know if that's really answering that question, but it's track and field. I mean, a lot of people really don't like running. They think of it as like exercising and working. It's why you have like exercise physiologists and personal trainers, because now we have to do all these things to get people to get moving. And track and field is such an old sport that we're just doing the same thing that we've always done as a human species, which is to move the human body. And we're doing the same thing, just moving the human body more than the average person to get them to see really how far we can get them to perform. And track and field is one of those sports where genetics plays a big role, right? You have 21 different events outdoors and I think 17 indoors. So there is an event in our sport suited for everyone. If you don't like running and you're more strong, you got throwing events. You got several events that you can do in that. If you don't like running long and you feel like you're fast, you can run the short stuff. If you like to run for a long time and you enjoy that, we have the events for you. So there is something in this sport that is there for everybody. Not sure if it's answering that question, but any thoughts?
No, I mean, like, it's just, I think just the diversity that exists in the sport is something that's pretty crazy. And I think more people participate in track and field and cross country than any other sport in the United States.
It's like the number one participation sport.
I would not be surprised.
Which I think is cool. Like, a lot of us probably joined as like a community, and then you find your way after a while. But yeah, I think that's something that I'm most proud of, is that there's it's a place where like everybody's kind of found a home at like the high school level and at a younger level, which I think is cool. And it's like, as Michael said, how do we develop that into like a professional sport where people are well funded and kind of continue to like chase those dreams? But yeah, I think that's the best way to put it.
Yeah.
I got a question for you. What's your thought of track before we walked in and started educating you? What are your thoughts of track?
Really, like running, but like
the people in the short
fast
shorts,
people in short shorts, and then real brolic people chucking weights.
Cool.
I mean, honestly, that was before coming into this job, right? Like last year, I learned a lot about it, having to cover the sport, and I never had. I know in undergrad, I worked in the athletic department at my school, but it was a tiny little school. We didn't have a track and field program, barely had a cross country program, so I had no idea. Learned a lot about it. Really, the thing that struck me most was the diversity. Like, I get a PDF from a school with the results, and I have to turn that into a story or written recap of what happened. And just going through and seeing just the depth of what's there, and also seeing the fact that like some of these distance races like start at like 8 p.m. and go or like start at 10 p.m. sometimes. I'm like, wow, that's dedication right there, to just be willing to, put that extra time in and going all day. It's impressive too.
Yeah, a track meet is like a whole.
It's the whole
beast.
day. I mean, that's something that is always being discussed at the convention, which is how long our meets are. And I think within the track community, every year there's probably conversations about how we can shorten the events to make them more spectator friendly. I think that's another reason why we trying to get the community to care about the sport. I know I have some friends that always say the only people who care about track and field are those who have done track and field or got children or people running track and field. But yeah, our meets are from 8 o'clock in the morning to sometimes 10 o'clock at night. And so it's like, if you telling your mom or your aunt that you have a track meet coming in, they're gonna be like, well, what time are you running? I want to make sure I'm there for that. I want to be sitting out there. It could be raining and doing that. But yeah, I think that's something that we can continue to have conversations about, because nobody wants to sit outside for 12 hours. But it's going to take some time. I mean, and these conversations are ongoing, and so I hope that as time moves on, we evolve with the times and get ourselves back up to being the sport that we should be. Because again, this is one of the oldest sports. This is the Olympics. We bring the entire world together every 4 years. So I think it's something that it's not going to go anywhere. The only thing we can do is just upgrade, right?
Mm-hmm. And I'm looking forward to less than a month now. We're hosting a track meet.
Yeah.
And
D3 invite, February 3rd.
It'll be the first one since I've worked here. First track meet that I've probably ever been to in person, actually. So I'm really excited for that, just to take it all in. I know I've heard from
bring a
you
few
that
snacks.
it's a
You'll
lot.
be there a while.
Bring a few snacks, bring some water. Yep.
Oh, for sure. But that'll be exciting, and it'll be good for honestly for the team. I mean, even the program hasn't hosted a meet in a few years, so
right.
I'm sure we're all looking forward to that. But speaking of that, I mean, it's going to be at the Armory. That is a storied venue in the sport. That's and we talked about that. I kind of spoke on that in a feature we did a couple years ago, I guess a year ago. I don't know, lose track of time. It's like almost like the Madison Square Garden of running. So I mean, you guys train there, compete there. We're hosting that meet there. Just kind of, I guess, what does that mean? Is there a lot of awe from the athletes, or is it just kind of regular that it's like in our backyard?
Yeah, I think back to your original question about New York's challenges. Like, you get to work out in one of the most historic tracks on almost a daily basis, which is really cool. And yes, so like we just started going to the track this week, and a few people, it's like their first time, and it's always cool to be there. It's chaotic though. I'm gonna be honest with you. There's like 5 teams working out, and you're kind of jumping in and out of the track. But it's a really fun environment, and that's why I said like everywhere you go is kind of high energy. Yeah. That you go to East River Park, and there's a bunch of people working out. You go to Central Park, there's a bunch of people working out. You go to the Armory, and like everyone's yelling. Coach Roberts is out there coaching, yelling, and I'm over there just trying not to get run over while people are doing repeats and those types of things. But no, it's a good time, and yeah, I think it takes a little bit of time to get used to, and he's probably kind of finding the ways to best utilize the space and all that. But that's kind of, it's a good spot.
I'm sure you had competed or been there for coaching meets, but like now.
No, I haven't. This
is your first time?
This is my first time at the Army. I've watched meets online. There's definitely a lot of energy, and some records have been ran on that track. But I think the Armory is good. It is definitely hectic and chaotic in there, but it's also an opportunity to prepare the athletes, because some of the meets that we go to, and even those that advance, the training environment is going to be hectic. So it's going to be extremely important to learn how to have tunnel vision and to really focus on what you came here to do for that day, and not be distracted by all of the other stuff going on in the background. So for me, it's just another training opportunity for the athletes to really learn how to go to that place where there's a lot of other people doing stuff, and really focusing on what they came to do, and being very businesslike and diligent, and getting in and getting out. We don't want to spend too much time. This is New York. Everybody's on the go. So I just take it as it's a learning opportunity and a training opportunity to just prepare the athletes for what's to come. I mean, that environment is the same environment at any other major meet, where it's just kind of hectic. And so if you can step out into your backyard, which we can't, and have a track where there's no other teams there, it's closed for our practice, and we can kind of focus. We don't have that luxury. And so you just use what you can, and you take those moments, and you make those moments a learning moment. I mean, there's always a way to improve. There's always a way to get the job done, and to really focus on what is important on focusing on, and just like I said, having tunnel vision and getting rid of the distractions.
Yeah, can be easier said than done here, but
easier said than done. Yes, for sure.
Actually, I want to take it back a little bit, and I think every guest we've had on this podcast is a question that we've asked them, and normally it's at the beginning. I kind of glossed over it, but especially for you, Michael. I mean, I know you coached at Army. You're in the metropolitan area, I guess you could say. I'm sure you didn't really venture down to the city as much.
No, I didn't.
Kind of being up there, but now that you've commuted here pretty much every day for the past almost week, have you had a welcome to New York City moment yet?
Now, what do you mean by welcome to New York City moment?
There's really not a definition to that. I think it's more of like an experience you had, whether on the street, in the subway, just with interacting with the city, where you were like, whoa, that was crazy. This is different. This place is its own,
No, I haven't. I think I've been prepared for the craziness that exists here in the city, just by the people that live in the area where I live at, because a lot of them was giving me a lot of information about what New York City is. And you see the memes and stuff online where it says no one knows how to mind their business more than a New Yorker. And so I think I took that on before I came here, because there's just so much stuff going on. I remember the first day that I got my key card to come to the office, there was somebody sleeping on the step, and I need to step over them to get into the office. Didn't make no big deal about it. You just stepped, didn't even say excuse me. You just stepped over them and beep your card, and you go about your business. I think I was just more at awe of being in New York City. Like when I got this job, one thing I said was I never thought in a million years that I would be working in New York or being here. It was never ever something that I thought about or dreamed about. So to actually be here. And be living in it and commuting every day and being in the subway and the trains, it's still exciting for me. Some people say all the time I can't stand it, this, that, and the third. But like Tyler said, it is what you make it, right? Yeah. And you're in control of your perception and your reality. And so I want to keep mine positive and not really focus on people who wouldn't do the things that I do. I actually enjoy commuting. I can read. I don't have to drive. I can kind of actually focus and decompress from the day. So. Yeah, there's just a lot of stuff here. I think I can live in the city and eat a different meal every day and never eat the same thing twice.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Kai, I'm going to give the people what they want. What's your welcome to New York City moment?
Mine.
You've been asking everybody else on the podcast. I think
Okay,
the listeners. This is what the listeners
want.
want. This is what the listeners want.
I have a couple actually. I'm kind of glad you asked. I guess one is kind of lighthearted. One
Kyle's
is
not here, so I figured I could fill his role.
No, I
a
like
bit.
that. I appreciate that. One a little more lighthearted and funny, I guess. Well, unless it happened to you. So it was in college. I went to St. Joseph's College in Brooklyn. I was in college. Me and my roommate were on the train going somewhere. Onto the train comes a couple of dudes with a bunch of large reptiles.
Okay. We talking snakes?
So
like
we
lizards?
got a thick, I don't know what kind, a thick snake, biggest snake I've ever seen in my life. A huge, bearded dragon type of thing that they got on. They put the lizard guy just on the ground and starts walking around, coming up to people. If you made eye contact with them, they would take the snake and put it around your neck.
Oh,
No.
Nope.
So me and my roommate, it wasn't like...
And
so
we're
we had
talking
been there
about
a
the
couple months.
huge snakes, right? Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. And we were just like, whoa. We just looked down, not look. It didn't, we leapt out. I think the iguana thing probably came over and said hello or something, but I was like, what? How was everyone okay with this? Except for the people with the snake on them. But some people got the snake and just were didn't move and just keep on the phone, whatever.
Yeah.
Just crazy.
I've never walked in between a subway car before. I think if I see, a reptile show coming onto the subway, I'm walking to the next one. Yeah. That might be what it takes.
Yeah. And the other one's a little more sad, I guess.
Yeah, not quite as whimsical.
Not as funny. But I was getting back to off the train at my subway stop.
Yep.
Pretty late at night. Walking up the stairs, and it just happened so fast. A man was coming down the stairs. I was just looking down, tired, coming up. I'm watching his feet come down, and they just start to go. I can tell that he's just losing. I don't know if he was in a rush or fainted while he was walking down the stairs, or intoxicated or something. I don't know. But then just fell down the stairs. I get to the top. I'm I don't know what to do. I'm super tired. Luckily, there was a bunch of people on the platform oh my god, this guy's just sprawled out and in a suit, a business type of dude, not somebody you would who's who would have seen on the outside they're going through something or messed up at the moment. But that was that one actually affected me. I remember I saw that, I was whoa. I didn't have that New York of just not my problem. I was I looked back and I was I was gonna try to help, I guess, or call somebody, but then there was a few people on the platform freaking out, helping, and I was I need to go home. That was so that was that one stayed with me for sure.
So you've had some New York welcoming moments.
Yeah, and I'm sure there's some that I've maybe even blocked out. I don't know, but it's been an interesting 5-ish years since I've been here. No intention to leave though. I'm here. I came here for a reason.
Yeah, I think if you make it over the 5-year threshold, you're kind of in it.
Technically,
if New York's not for you, you're probably leaving before 5 years.
Yeah.
And I think people might, I don't know if people will count it, because I guess 3.5 of those years was college, so I was here for 9, 9.5 months of the year.
I'll give it to you.
Okay.
We don't need it. We don't have to go to the
But
semantics. I'll give it to you.
spent plenty of time. But Tyler, I want to throw this back to you because actually our first day working at NYU was the same day.
Taking
We
my
started
segue.
together.
I had this in my
Oh,
back
you were
pocket. I
ready?
was like, my man,
You're
we
gonna have to
started
start-
the first day.
Where's the NYU XCTF podcast then? You're ready to host.
I don't
man.
know about that.
Getting ahead
I
of
got
ourselves.
cloned on the way over here. You're on the podcast? What do you have to talk about? Okay, guys. All right. Thank you.
All right. No, but our first day was the same day.
Yep.
We got our little campus store, and I'm pretty sure you had just like popped off of a bus, flight, train, something.
Yeah.
Like whatever. You had just gotten to New York.
Yeah.
You hadn't even like put your bags down. I remember I got to wherever it was, around Union Square where our offices were at the time. I'm waiting with some others. We're gonna get a tour, and we're waiting on. And you come with like your suitcase.
Yeah,
You
it was
had
me,
just
you, and
arrived.
one other person.
Yeah.
Yep.
So, given that, I mean, that's probably I don't know, your own moment of like I'm just stepping into New York City
Yeah.
with my like boss and these new people.
Yep.
Getting a tour around. That's different. But you've been? I hope you have something. I hope you have a moment.
Yeah. So there's two.
Okay.
That one, yes.
Yeah, in and of itself, right?
That
Mhm.
I go shopping. I was like, okay, I have a job in New York. New York's a little fancy. I gotta buy like some new clothes. So like the day before, I think I bought like I don't know a polo and like a pair of pants or something like that. Nothing crazy. Look at me, I'm wearing sweats and like a zip up and a hat. But
Watch out, you're gonna make me bring up the Gucci shoes.
oh no, please no.
He had Gucci shoes.
Keep going.
we gotta keep this rolling.
going.
With this,
Keep
we
going.
might digress to that. Anyways, yeah. So I like say goodbye to all my friends in Philly. They all gave me like a farewell prior to that, and then I think to get here for the tour at 9 a.m. I'm leaving Philly and with like a wake up at like 4:30 or 5. So I'm tired, but like shower, have a cup of coffee, put on the nice clothes, have my bags packed because I'm here. The season starts in 5 days, and my first day, and I haven't been in an NYU building. All the interviews happened over Zoom.
Yeah.
And like they've only seen me on Zoom, I've only seen them on Zoom, and like I was suited up on the interviews, so they probably think like Tyler's put together all of these things. So like I try to look good, and I just remember that it's like New York and humid. So I get off at like Penn Station. And that's kind of a trek.
Yeah, it's not, especially with some bags.
Yeah,
It's not
and the train
easy.
gets delayed, and I'm like worried like I'm gonna be late for this,
Mm.
but I'm not sure how to take the subway quite yet.
For
So I'm
sure.
like,
Yeah.
I can walk. I'll just walk.
Oh.
So I got my
Okay.
duffel bag over here, my backpack on, and I'm like halfway through, and I'm like, wait.
This is
I
early
am-
August.
Yeah, I am drenched.
Uh-huh.
Absolutely drenched. So the West Side Market,
Yep.
right next to Palladium. I walk in there. Hey, do you guys have a bathroom? No. And so I just wanted to put on like a clean shirt. I got 3 minutes. So I'm standing in the corner of the West Side Market, like behind like, I don't know, the apples or something like that. Unzip my bag, try to find like a clean shirt, put it on. I like walk over, and then Stuart's like, hey, how's it going? Like the shirt looks a little wrinkled or something like that. Just a classic comment right away. And I was
Yeah.
like, caught me. I don't even know.
Great
I don't even
start.
know what to say. Then like we go on the tour, I like sweat through like my whole other shirt, and then that was my welcome to NYU moment. That like
Yeah. Yeah, no doubt.
But my welcome to New York moment is I was like selected to do like Model UN for Oregon in middle school.
Okay, we're going back.
Yeah, in middle
All right.
school. So same thing. I'm like wearing a suit that's like 2 sizes too big because my mom wouldn't buy me a suit that actually fit me. She's like, you need a suit too big so when you grow into it, like you have one. I was like, all right. So
Forward thinking.
I'm not looking great walking around, and then we're at Times Square, and there's like those guys that rap that are like selling their CDs. And I'm like, oh, this is so cool. This is a rapper. So like I'm ready to take it. The guy puts his arm around me, and like I just get like heckled. Like the guy, I don't remember the specifics because this is middle school, but like he's like, no, you owe me money, and like he's like, you touched my CD, now you don't own it, and I am frightened, like absolutely just like scared beyond belief because like what is going on.
Yeah.
Eventually, like I probably because I'm young, he like lets me go, but I just remember this was like a scarring moment and a big ordeal that like I had to like go back and forth with this guy to buy his rap CD that probably had no music on it. Something
Probably.
Yeah.
yeah, something along those
Wouldn't be
lines. So
surprised.
that was like my true welcome to New York moment, and then everything else has been, kind of typical New York.
Just get used
moments.
to it.
Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
I have no stories like that.
They'll come. They'll hit you when you least expect it. Hopefully for better and not
For
worse.
better.
Yeah. It's interesting. You never know. But that's part of the beauty of it. Part of the energy. Part of the excitement. You never know what you're gonna see when you step out your door to start the day. So,
Yeah.
I guess getting back to the track a little bit.
I'm glad we got that segment. I was
Yeah.
about to take over and pirate this podcast just to give the people
we could not miss out on that. I'm really glad we got to share that. But getting back to the track a little bit, at the Division III level, I guess, because at the other levels there's different rules as far as the time you can spend in season, the non-traditional season, all like that. But at the Division III level, cross country and track is really the only year-round sport where you're really training actively, kind of with the teams year-round. So how does that affect your approach? How do you balance that with the athletes, of course, especially being at a high academic school like NYU, when they're trying to balance the academics and athletics, especially for your distance and middle distance runners who do participate in the cross country season? What is that like from the coaching leadership perspective as far as keeping them on track? It's a long-winded question, but
it's a lifestyle, right? Being an athlete, being a track athlete, it's a lifestyle.
I knew he was here for a reason. If you looked at me first, lifestyle. That was the first word coming out of my mouth.
Okay,
so
the chemistry's
we're on the same page there.
The chemistry's
when he said
building.
that he started off wrestling first, I was like, I did too. Like, small world.
Okay.
But yeah, I mean, it's a lifestyle, and for every division, cross country, track and field coaches are coaching year round. I mean, even if you're getting athletes in postseason play, I mean, it's the entire year, so you're really not getting much time off. And it's a lifestyle. It's a lifestyle for the athletes. It's also a lifestyle for the coaches. But our sport is just it's there's technical aspects to it, but a lot of it really has to do with just fitness and just doing and treating your body well and pushing your body to the limits and just making sure that you're doing the stuff that you need to do so that you can recover and so that you can improve. That's why the Olympics is every 4 years, right? It's year round. It never ends. It's training, right? You train, you implement periods of rest and then periods of where you add on, and so it's a lifestyle. And I think if you can beat that into the athletes that this is ongoing, and hopefully that this stuff will transition and inspire them to continue to keep living active lives even after this. Because I'll say I haven't been in track and field forever. I mean, look at me, but I've been doing this for about 13 years, and I've met some people that can still kick my ass, and they're 20, 30 years older than I am, and it's just a lifestyle. So I think it's just implementing into them the importance of just being healthy and being mindful. What do they say? Track and field is the only pure sport, right? Where it's like you have to be tested in order to have a world record, and the doping and all that stuff like that. And so it's extremely important just to be mindful of that. But yeah, it's a lifestyle.
I like that. I like that a lot. I mean, from the outside, that track, cross country, running really is one of those sports where it seems to me like that really can have such a long-lasting effect in someone's life. Whereas, I mean, not to say a basketball, volleyball, soccer, whatever other player, of course you're probably going to still play the sport. You love the sport, still be as engaged with it as you can as you get older. But with running, you can always run. Like, that can stay with you in lifestyle. So yeah, that's really cool.
To answer that question, I think the exciting thing about being in season all year round is that you see the people literally from like the times before school starts till after school ends every single year. And not to like throw shade at any of the sports that just practice 1 year, but like these are like real relationships I'm building. By the time someone graduates in 4 years, I've seen them every single day throughout an entire academic year for 4 straight years. And so through that, there's going to be like, they're going to see me at my best and see me at my worst, and I'm probably going to see them in the same. And like, these are real people in your life. And I think like with that comes measuring your intensity. Is something you have to be really mindful of, because like if you show up intense, like ready to go, and like we just got to go rip it for 365 days a year, it doesn't last. Where I think like, I don't know what my conception of like football or something, I'm gonna say that because we don't have football here, but is that like you're intense and like you're always yelling and screaming and those types of things, or like sometimes practice is pretty laid back. Like I walk in and say, all right, have a great run, and like that's my coaching for the day, fist bump them, like say they look good, and like that's the day. Or it's like, really just checking in how life is going. And I think that's kind of like what's much different about our sport than a lot of others, is that I think I'm sort of there as like sort of coach, like always a coach, but like a mentor, a friend, and like someone here that's kind of just like helping through this 4-year journey. And again, I think measuring intensity is always going to be something that's always like really kind of forefront in my mind, just because like we can only take so much intensity, right? And I think that's That's kind of always how I view it. In a dream world, I'm perfect at it, but we're not always going to get it right.
Yeah, I mean, just a segue. I mean, we spend so much time with them that, we as coaches, our job is to be a service to the athletes and to change their lives. And I think in order for us to get them to reach their potential, and it can be really personal sometimes, because again, you have to really understand them sometimes to figure out what their triggers are, so that when we talk about intensity, how much to push them or when to back off. And I think with us spending so much time with them, it does become easier to kind of figure out those triggers. Now, don't get me wrong, there's some athletes you don't want to be that close with,
but they don't want to be close with us, probably. Either way.
But yeah, I mean, it is. It's we have more time to spend with them to really have a positive impact into their lives. And like I said before, it's like one of my goals is to make sure that once they're finished with me, that this active lifestyle of living continues on with them for the rest of their life. You want to make sure that you have a good quality of life as you age. As you get older, you have back problems and all these things, and all those things can be. I won't say avoided, but the issues of having back pain or having these issues later on in life are kind of deferred because you've kept up with this active style of living and really kept your body moving. The human body is designed to move, so.
Yeah, oh yeah. Well, now I'm curious, both of you, how often do you guys run?
No, don't ask me this question.
Have to.
I can't. Let him go. He's
Yeah.
fit. We'll look good, and then we'll look bad.
I keep talking about, practice what you preach. I work out consistently. Now, there are some times where, I give myself a break, but, I think for me, it's if the athletes are seeing that I'm taking myself and my fitness, because all I preach is fitness. If the athletes see that I'm, living up to what I'm saying and doing, I think that, it gives them more of a reason to do the same thing. Because like I said, like the goal and the plan is, and the vision is to improve, is to achieve performance, and anything that I can do within myself that sheds a light in them to do the same thing that I'm trying to get them to accomplish. I want to make sure that I do that. Now, I don't want to be like, I know there's some horror stories out here of coaches who get out here and they think they still got it, and they go up here and they mess up their knees and their backs and stuff like that. I'm not going to be like that, but
we don't need you in crutches.
No, I'm not going to do that. But yeah,
them up.
I run around 3 times a week usually, and I still try to lift as much as I can. But again, that's just me. It's important to me. Being healthy and being fit is important to me. So I stay pretty consistent with it.
And you were primarily a hurdler in college?
Yes, I was a hurdler.
So I guess nowadays, like, I'm guessing you don't, like, hurdle that much?
Well, I'll tell those athletes that I'll be like, not a single one of you can beat me to this day. To this day, doesn't mean it's like that. But, yeah, I mean, I don't hurdle now. I'm not going to go out there and do it because I said I don't want to have the horror story. But I can still go out there and show them, some technical stuff. But, as you get older as a coach, it does become important to be able to describe movement with words and not doing it yourself. So it's just, once I get to the point to where I can't do it, I need to be able to cleverly articulate what it is that I'm saying so that they can feel what I'm saying, because they're visual learners. This is a social media era. Everything is on the phone. Yeah. So, they're not really listening. And so I think that's going to become a challenge. But, yeah, I mean, me knowing how to do the movements, it's easier for me to kind of describe things in a way for them to feel the words that I'm saying, if that makes sense.
Definitely, yeah. Tyler? Want to disappoint us?
I guess, should I talk about my best fitness in New York, or where I'm at now?
You can give us some.
No, I'm kidding. So I normally grab a run with a friend once a week, and so she runs she's still training for marathons, so she's going 10 miles, and I'm blown up by the end. I usually get one of those in a week, and then I stationary bike in Palladium a couple times, do a little core every once in a while, and that's kind of what fitness looks like. Every Sunday, the team goes out for long runs. My goal, starting this weekend, is I'm going to run all these Sundays. Normally, I grab a cup of coffee and then go for a walk and then get heckled by the whole team that I'm walking. But I told them today, actually, you'll see me running this semester. So check back in in a few months.
Stay tuned.
And then hopefully I'll say I'm running.
I mean, this is New York. There's so much walking that goes on here. I almost want to get something to, how much am I walking? Do I need to run this much this week? Because I've been killing it with the walking.
Yeah. Steps are no joke.
Yeah.
For sure.
You getting that workout in?
I've been slacking. I'll be honest on the pod, man. I've been slacking. It hasn't been like a new year, getting up into it. But the intentions are there. I'll get right.
I'm there
I'll
with
get
you.
right
The-
soon.
The intentions
I'll
are
get right
there.
soon.
Doesn't mean it's
Yeah.
always going to happen, though.
Yeah.
For me, it is.
Yeah. Michael, you got to whip us into shape.
Hey, Tyler, you got a good one. He's practicing what he preaches. No, I guess, as we kind of wrap up here, are there any kind of last messages or things you're most looking forward to about this season, or just kind of, general, like, jumping off points as you guys really start to get underway here?
I think for me, there's a ton of new positive energy. You look at, like, this freshman class is huge.
Yeah, it's big. It's
And
a
when you
big
talk
freshman
about like
class.
restarting a program and like restarting a culture, having a bunch of really young, talented new people that are excited to be at NYU, excited to be in New York, and excited to be a part of this program, like we can kind of foster and bottle that and let that develop and grow over 4 years. We could be, having another podcast in 4 years, and me and Michael aren't talking about like recreating something. We're talking about like keeping something rolling.
Yeah.
Like, that's what gets you out of bed. That's what's exciting, and I think that's what's exciting to the athletes. It's like that they can be the reason that we're really good, that they can be the reason that this thing gets started. And again, the stories we tell ourselves are just like super, super important. And like the story that they can tell themselves is like, we're putting NYU back on the map. And I think that's what excites me. That's why I was excited to be here. And it's easy to come to a place, I shouldn't say easy, that's done it before. We've won a national title. Track has never been like quite where I think it should be. But like, there's so many talented people that want to come here. And I always joked with Michael, like, dude, get ready. Your inbox is about to be full with people wanting to run and come here. And
Yes, it is.
Janice told me this too, and I was like, Janice, okay, yeah, sure, I get it, like whatever. And then I'm like, whoa, like people want to be here.
Yeah.
And it's about finding the people that want to be here for the right reasons and work hard and have fun and all of those things. And so just excited to start this journey, excited to start it with Michael, excited to start it with all the new people here.
Yeah.
And we started together, so
did.
we're just getting a bunch of more people to kind of hop
Keep
on
it
board
rolling.
with it.
Yeah, for sure.
You got, once he's done, you got to look over here. What I'm excited for is the same thing. It's everybody here is new. The university is having an expansion with athletic facilities. There's going to be more opportunity to be able to have more space and more time with the athletes. The track and field side of it, like I say, I said this because I'm looking forward to the challenge. But one thing that can overcome that challenge is encouragement and motivation, and again, just following a vision to get these things accomplished, because there's other schools that are located within New York that have to train within the same logistical things like that. And so if there is a will, there is a way. So I'm just really looking forward to it. And, one of the questions that I think I saw, which was, can NYU become one of the best Division III programs in the country? And the answer for me is yes. Yes, we can. We have all of the tools that we need to do that. We talk about the logistical things like that, but again, like you said, the stories that we tell ourselves are the most important. We have access to do what we need to do. We just gotta tell ourselves the right story and go out here and make that story a beautiful picture.
Tyler, that's your line of the year. I
Don't-
love it.
Yeah,
love
I mean, along those lines, like, it's pretty easy to
There's
walk
a lot
around.
of truth to it, though.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's also pretty easy to have that perspective when you walk around the halls here and, like, women's basketball ranked #1 in the country, volleyball making the Final Four, swimming rolling out with national champions, Bruce getting All-Americans. Like, teams are successful here. So,
Yeah.
like, if you kind of look around, there's no reason that we shouldn't be as well.
Yeah.
And, like, just like, I want to be the best team on campus a little bit. There's those competitive juices that get flown, and like again, you don't have to look far for inspiration in New York. You walk outside these front doors, and there's people achieving at the highest level of like every single possible thing. And so again, it's energizing or it's draining.
Yeah.
We're gonna make it energizing.
I love it. I'm
Hold
excited.
on, one sec. What are the goals for you at NYU? Look, no one's ever asking you questions.
All right, Tyler.
If I again. Kyle's not here, so I feel like I'm
Yeah.
like
All right.
a co-host. Maybe that I'm overstepping my boundaries here, but goals for like podcast.
Podcast, I mean, I think it might sound a little cliche, but we just want to tell more stories. This is a great platform, a great medium to get more people in our community, in our department, shed some light on them, get their face, get their voice out there, and hear from them in a very, unfiltered, casual,
Authentic way, yeah.
Authentic way, right? Like, as far as the podcast, and really, and I have to give Kyle a ton of credit. We miss him this week; he'll be back soon. But this is really his brainchild. This project really came from him. And he's super passionate about it. And I'm just really glad to be a part of it with him. I really enjoy him and I working together has been fantastic the past year and a half. So I just have to say that. But personally, it's really like you said, as the department, as NYU continues to expand with a new facility and just growing with these programs and the new branding, the new uniforms for all the teams and things like that. It's a really exciting time. So for me, it's kind of where my fingerprints are most felt is, I think, on the game day experience.
Cool.
So with the teams, as far as the broadcast, we're trying to do new exciting things with the broadcast of our home events. Part of that, it is going to happen this year, launching a broadcast network for NYU athletics and hopefully incorporating more kind of sit-down style things like this on that medium. I will say here, too, if you've listened this far in the pod, you get to hear the mobile app coming soon for NYU athletics. Don't have an exact date on that. That's another goal of mine, getting that off the ground. So that's a little look behind the scenes of what's kind of churning in my office and my desk as well. So.
Yeah, no, it's cool to see kind of the sports media stuff arrive to the 21st century at NYU, and I think that's obviously a big thanks to obviously you and Kyle and Jeff kind of helping along the way and leading that. So it's definitely cool, and I know the athletes really, really appreciate it and think it's been cool. And I know a few podcasts back there saying they were giving you all the love, but you guys deserve it too.
Yeah, we appreciate that. Honestly, well, that's the positivity from the athletes and the coaches, the people that we can really are showcasing and can have an impact on. Hearing that positive feedback and hearing that we're making a difference in their experience means the most. And I know I speak for Kyle to a certain extent with that as well. So appreciate that.
We only look as good as you make us look.
And we try. We're doing all right.
You're doing well.
Yeah. It's going up though.
Cool. Thanks.
Cool. Thanks.
Yeah. Thanks for joining me, guys. We'll see you next week on Silence Behind the Violets.